Hey everybody, it's Friday. What's today? January 28th, 2022. Anybody still putting 2021 when they write the date? I've done it a few times. Not this week though, last week. Welcome. Today, as I said, is Friday, so this is an AMA. You ask, I tell. If you don't know who I am, you're in the wrong AMA. No, my name is Kevin. I'm CEO here at Coinmetro. I do this every week. I think this might be our 180th episode or something. I don't know how many we've done. I already see some questions rolling in. I actually, for the first time in a while, have 3 things I get to discuss. So somebody was nice enough, thank you for making me some bullet points about some topics that I can bring up, even if they're not asked about, which they may be asked about anyway, but we'll see. So some point here in the next few minutes, I'm gonna bring up a few of those topics. We will, I think, in the near future, be shortening this AMA to 30 minutes. What we're gonna try to do is moderate a bit so that we can get the best questions in. And this way as well, people don't have to sit and listen to me babble on for a whole hour, which has to be excruciating most days. Most Fridays, I should say. We don't do this every day. Maybe we should. Maybe we shouldn't. Okay, going to jump into first couple questions here. Yes, but maybe. Okay. Hello, Kevin. Hope you are well. Do you have any thoughts on Covalent? I don't yet, but I probably will soon. I don't know if you can read between the lines on that one, but maybe you can. Yes, but maybe. Hey, Kev, happy Friday. What are your thoughts on the future of Layer 2 and projects like Loopring? How much will it change the game? Way lower gas fees for DEXs, NFT marketplaces. Well, I still think that Layer 2s are a Band-Aid to a much bigger problem, which is scalability. And scalability that leads to lack of throughput, that leads to high costs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We support, as most of you guys already know, Cadena, who's a proof of work blockchain that is scalable because of multiple chains. Now, that can have its own limitations, but I think while I'm not saying I don't like Layer 2s, and that not that Layer 2s won't provide some, create a better ecosystem overall for the time being, I think the focus has to be on creating Layer 1 solutions that are even better than the current Layer 2s. Every time you add in another level, you're adding in some form of counterparty risk, whether that's technical counterparty risk or centralized counterparty risk. And the whole reason why finance really started to put their eyes on Bitcoin in the beginning, and now crypto in general, is about one of those things is about de-risking, getting away from counterparty risk. And so Layer 2s don't actually go away from counterparty risk, they add it to the equation. So my thoughts are that they're a great solution for now. It was a swift way, an easy way, a swift way of counteracting some of the problems that exist currently with Layer 1s. But I do believe that the end goal has to be, again, create Layer 1s that can surpass even current Layer 2s capabilities. And I don't think that's impossible. And I think we're going to get there at some point in the future. And Cadena is well on the way to showing that that's possible. In fact, they already showed it's possible, but they're going to show how possible it is over the coming months and years. Do you hold any crypto that isn't listed on CM? No, I do not. I do not hold a single asset in the crypto market that's not listed on Coinmetro. I am loyal to my brand. I am loyal to my business. Also shows that if I do see something I really like, more than likely at some point it's going to get listed. If other people agree, obviously, I don't just list things I like, but if I really am passionate about something, I'm probably going to be passionate about making sure it gets listed here as well, because if I like it, I want everybody to have access to it. That's kind of the MO of Coinmetro. Hey, Kevin, the dip didn't make me happy. When will CV Reflect come back from his skiing holiday? My profit is melting like snow in the sun. Why didn't he take profit in November, December? Coinmetro rules, by the way. Hey, Robin. So trams are not connected to Coinmetro in any way, shape, or form. So whether it's CV Reflect or any other, I have no idea what the ski holiday is. Not informed of that whatsoever. It's not really our job. Our job is to provide the platform that allows trams to happen, that allows copy trading to work. And yeah, that question would have to go to the person trading the tram, not to me. I have no idea why profit wasn't taken in any time, why it was taken, why trades were taken. I can't answer any of those questions, unfortunately. You'd have to get in contact with them. So I'm going to go, and my first bullet point So give me a second here. First bullet point of the day, Discord pre-launch. So you guys have probably seen that we're launching on Discord. A lot of you might already be in the waiting room. I think we have over 1,500 people now in the waiting room, so that's pretty cool. Also, I see that we have more, what is it, server ups or server boosts, I believe they call them on Discord, more than Binance has. That's pretty cool. We haven't even launched yet. So yeah, we already welcomed, I have 1,400 users in my bullet point, but I think I saw it almost close to 1,500, but maybe I'm wrong. So everybody's in the waiting area. We got a lot of contests coming on. We've had a good amount of responses to our first 3 contests, and our 4th one's coming in a couple of hours. Make sure you join, because if you're not on Discord, well, you can't participate in the contest. Official launch is going to be on February 1st, so mark that down on your calendars. You'll also see the countdown clock now, both in our web app and in our mobile apps, so that's super cool. And it's only going to be available to verified clients. It's going to help us clean up some of the nonsense we've seen on Telegram sometimes. So that's going to be really, really interesting to see as well. I can't wait to do my first foist. Everybody watch like old school cartoons from the 20s? My foist voice message on Discord. That's going to be, I don't know if it's going to be interesting, but it'll be fun for me. So 2 other points to get to. That's the first one. I'll touch on the other 2 at some point throughout the show here. Wow, love the new background. Thanks, Deep Philippe. Like your, is that you on that picture? DJing? Awesome. Is this a sneak peek of our redesign? Amazing. Also, thumbs up. Come on, Philippe. You know it's part of our redesign. But thanks for bringing it up. Yep, this is. You guys can see. Where am I going here? All this stuff here. Well, look, Bitcoin is apparently plus 5.27. Hopefully, that's thousands. What am I doing? You ever try to do this like in a mirror or on a video? I'm really bad at always. Anyway, so you can see over here. And also look, this is all new for today. But yeah, this is a little glimpse into what the new rebranding is going to look like. It's pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool. Hopefully you guys do too. Do you trade on Coinmetro as well? I wouldn't say I trade on Coin. I have traded. I have done some margin trades here and there, but I don't really actively trade anymore. And that's simply because I don't have the time needed, nor the hair left to be able to dedicate time and stress to the markets. I have a lot of other things I need to dedicate my stress to in Coinmetro. So no, I'm not an active trader, but I do trade. I do buy and sell on Coinmetro. Absolutely. How do you consider revamping? Hello, do you consider revamping the staking platform? For example, sending a notification at the end of a plan would be great. It's difficult to follow after tens of people. That's a great piece of feedback. Make sure that you post that on our feedback channel. If you can't find that feedback channel, well, Discord's probably going to make that super easy, but at least now in Telegram, you can ask in our main Telegram channel. Somebody will give you our feedback channel. We're constantly going to be revamping everything. If you've noticed, if you've been I don't know how long you've been a client hereby, but I remember I've seen you here many times, so you've been a client a while. As you notice, we constantly revamp stuff, and we will constantly continue to revamp stuff. We're thinking that you get to a point where something's perfect, you've kind of already missed the point. Nothing is ever going to get perfect. So you're constantly improving. We're constantly going to be improving, and our development process is dynamic, and will become more dynamic with more resources that we have. So absolutely, that's a great piece of feedback. I'm not sure if that might already exist somewhere on some Jira board or something, but it's a good one. So please mention it in our feedback channel. Hi, Kevin. A few months ago, you mentioned your idea for a new website where you would act as a crypto drill sergeant. Yeah, actually, so the drill sergeant idea was revamped a bit, but there's actually 5 crazy, quirky Coinmetro websites that you'll see 4 heads and me as a mermaid and all kinds of weird stuff. Those will launch probably in the next 2 months or so. So yes, actually all the designs have been done. They're just getting coded now. So yeah, it's going to be pretty cool. The drill sergeant one, for some reason, didn't make it for whatever reason. But the idea that came up instead of the drill sergeant is actually pretty cool. So just gonna, Grace, I see. I don't know what this means, Grace. Maybe you're trying to type a comment, but didn't make it through. So if you have a question, please post it. Suggestion on the exchange page of Coinmetro, maybe set the default to limit order rather than market order would prevent a lot of mistakes from people who are new to crypto. Well, I don't think it would prevent mistakes. It would just give them other mistakes. They would be putting orders in that aren't filled and then contacting support saying that their orders aren't getting filled. So we want to be the platform that helps newbies. But what we've saw in the past, if you remember, maybe we weren't here, but way back in the day when we first launched, we had something called Simplex. That's what we called it. And it was a very simple, You had to do a lot of button clicks, to be honest, but to get to the end. But it was very simple. And we were getting a lot of feedback about, well, this doesn't look like anywhere else. So when I get here, I don't instinctively, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I don't understand. It should look like everywhere else. I think there's a happy medium between standardization and also uniqueness. And I think while we may not be 100% there yet, I think with most of our platforms now, we're much further along than we were before. Some things need to be standardized and some things need to be unique. I think we can make things unique by potentially having walkthroughs, product walkthroughs, tutorials, etc. So the first time you use a platform, it can tell you, this is a market order. This means fill me now. I don't care what price it is. It may mean a lot of slippage. This is a limit order. This means fill me at this price or better, etc., etc. This can fill partially. And those walkthroughs are going to happen once the complete beta, which you now see as beta, becomes our new infrastructure, both on margin, which I'm not even sure the margin beta is live yet, but it's definitely on our release candidate. And so those beta launches or beta products will become our alpha. That doesn't make any sense. Will become our production products. That makes more sense. In the very near future. When that happens, then we can start building in those walkthroughs. They're not there now because we have to change them as we change the platform. And again, it is going to be dynamic, but some things, again, have to be standardized. So, good question. Hey, Kevin, any general musings regarding the market to cheer us all up? I don't know if it's going to cheer you up, but I'll give you a bit of reality. It's funny that, if you're new to trading in general, I shouldn't even say new to trading. Most people aren't traders. But if you're new to markets in general, then seeing, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90% correction is pretty jarring, man. It's pretty jarring to put, $500, $100 in something and turn up the next day and it's 45. I get that. But if you've been around crypto or even looked at a chart from when you weren't in crypto, you will see that on majors, and I mentioned this number a million times, I think it's accurate. Someone's got to correct me on this if it's not accurate, but I'm pretty sure the average is 83%. Before this last correction, which I'll call it a correction now, about 50 some odd percent in Bitcoin and Ethereum, more or less, we would see an average correction when price would kind of hit an all-time high. We would have seen a correction of 83%. And so we've seen about 50-ish% correction on the majors in crypto. That is progress. If we don't see another 83% correction, even if we see an 80, 75, a 70, a 65, a 68, 58.9, whatever, it is showing us that there is more institutional money in the market, that there is more smart money in the market, and that smart money is playing the market like a fiddle, but it's not allowing the market to fall to its capitulation grave like it used to when it was mostly retail money. So what I would cheer you up with, history doesn't always repeat itself. And the guys that say history doesn't repeat itself, it rhymes. I don't even know what that means. But that kind of is similar, I guess. But that means it repeats itself because if history says yellow and it happens to be orange, well, it's still repeating itself. Just because it's not exact doesn't mean it's not repeating itself. Point is that I wouldn't take history as 100% kind of proof of what's going to happen next. But markets are irrational or rational only because the humans that are operating in them are rational or irrational. Crypto is irrational for the most part because it's mostly irrational money. It's retail money that's emotional. People invest in things because they like it. People invest in things because they get FOMO'd. People see that Bitcoin went up 5 bajillion% and go, I want to be a bajillionaire. And they throw money in Bitcoin. They don't take a rational process into that investment. They take an irrational process, emotion. And so this is an emotional market. Combine that now with institutional money, who usually is less emotional, but more fundamental. And what's happening around the world right now with fundamentals? Well, we have some countries saying that everybody's going to die of COVID. We have other countries saying, nobody's going to die of COVID anymore, no more masks. We have some people saying that there's still a pandemic. Some people saying it's becoming an endemic, I believe is the word. Maybe it's not, which basically means, it's not deadly, but it's not going to go anywhere. We're going to live with it. Then you have micro crises around the world that become macro. We have the Ukraine issue, right? But the Ukraine issue is now affecting the globe because of energy prices. The Ukraine issue is affecting the globe because there's fear that there might be some invasion that's going to cause like World War III. There's fear. So that fear is driving macro markets. Then you have other fears about inflation. that's driving the world economy. Then you have, the U.S. not raising rates, which means, does that mean inflation is going to, is inflation over with? Is it not? Do you believe this transitory inflation? Do you believe Powell? Do you believe all these things are kind of a perfect storm? And so what that leads to is indecision. And indecision with institutions means de-risking. But they're still institutions, so they're not going to lose money while they de-risk. So I think when you combine that all together, we are actually not in the most terrible place. Had we had this same type of doom and gloom, micro to macro economic issues, all the stuff that's going on, had that been happening in 2017 into 2018, we would have saw 100% fall on many assets, guaranteed, and it would have been worse than what we saw. The only difference would have been the recovery would have been quicker. Why would the recovery have been quicker? Well, because there's institutional money involved, and institutional money likes to buy cheap stuff. If they liked it at 50, if they liked it at 1K or 20K, they're going to love it at 5, 3, or whatever. So that might not cheer you up per se, but all this is a reality we're living in. I don't see this as some doom and gloom episode. The world's not going to end. Nothing's going to go to zero. Well, not nothing. There'll be some shit coins that might go to zero or close to it, close enough to it that they don't matter anymore. But the market is still here. The market is behaving, I would say, better than it has in the past. It's showing that there's now the fundamentals of the market have changed. And when inflation continues to hit globally, because it will, that's going to be good, I think, for crypto in the long run, even though right now it's causing fear that's generally debasing, different markets around the world. Kev, can you get NHT put on a short list for future, please? Hey, Justin. Well, you got to let me know what NHT is. Ping me about it on Telegram if you like. DM me at Kevin Murcko. We'll talk about it. Happy Friday. Thanks, Grace. On that happy Friday note, I'm going to get to my second bullet point. Let's mention this. So we're talking about social media activity. So hopefully you guys have noticed. I've noticed. We've been much more active on our social media lately. That's amazing. That's great. I hope that continues. This is part of just newly developing marketing strategies, and we're happy to see that our community is actually engaging more with us as we engage more with you on social media. If you have any ideas on how we can improve, this is what happens when I read something. See, this is why you don't read anything. We would love to hear your suggestions, just like we'd love to hear your suggestions on anything we can improve on, including our product. If you have suggestions on how we can improve social media even more, how we can become, how you would like to see us so you can be more engaged in what we do, let us have it. We'd love to hear it. So that's bullet point 2 of 3. We got one more coming up in a bit. Is the hoodie jacket your Friday? It seems it is. It's cold in the office, so my house is connected to the office. My house, though, because my wife likes to live in tropical climate, basically maintains like 32 degrees centigrade. It's fucking hot in my house. So when I usually put a t-shirt on. The problem is when I cross over into the office, it's cold. And so it's either I put a sweatshirt on in my house and I die while I'm there, and then I come here and I feel okay. Or I put a t-shirt on in my house, I feel okay, and then I come here and I freeze to death. So the kind of blazer, the blazer doesn't really work either because it's still cold, but this little hoodie blazer thing tends to work. So it's I don't necessarily wear it every day, but for some reason the last 3 Fridays I've had it on. So maybe, I don't know. We'll see. What has to happen in order for you to delist the project? It's a good question. We don't have general guidelines on that, but if you ask me just directly, I can tell you off the top of my head, there's a few things. Regulatory issue, meaning that there is a regulatory alert about a certain project. They get accused of being a security but lose the case, and there's precedent says that it is a security, we would have to delist. If we find out that there's legal or any type of real malfeasance from a project, fraud, etc., we don't want to be associated with companies that engage in fraud, for example. So we would delist. Volumes really aren't something that will push us to delist a project. If we did see 0 volumes for an extended amount of time, it doesn't make sense really to have that project listed on Coinmetro. So potentially, that's definitely not the first thing. It's not about commercial really. It's more about, well, I guess it's indirectly commercially related, whatever decision we make, but it's not really commercially related, at least on the forefront. But we don't want to hurt our reputation. So again, if somebody's doing bad things, we don't want to be associated with that company. because we don't want to take the risk that that would rub off on us, which again is somewhat commercially related. Oliver hinted on some listings this week. Is it on track? It's a good question. That'd be an Oliver question. So you'd have to ask Oliver. Sorry, just closing something here that making some noise. So you'd have to ask Oliver. I know we did have a listing that we wanted to push this week, but they've asked us to wait because they want to get market makers in line. But we do have something scheduled, I believe, for next week as well. And hopefully we will see a pattern emerge over the next few months where we do weekly, bi-weekly updates on listings. Hi, Kevin. What do you think about the project from Unizen? So, they're an exchange, we're an exchange. I see they're doing some things we're not. I see we do some things they don't. I think that there's a lot of hype. I've seen a lot of hype behind Unizen. At the end of the day, some of the things that many people are hyped about, to me, are kind of not really all that interesting. Aggregation, things like this. Now, aggregation, at some point, everybody will aggregate. Most people don't aggregate in crypto right now because most of the systems tend to not operate at their optimal level when aggregated, either because you're trying to aggregate fixed connection with a REST API, with WebSockets, with whatever, or you just simply have market makers that all have different strategies, but that tend to cannibalize each other. And so you end up with non-optimal execution, even though you're aggregating and it looks nice and et cetera. So there are some things I would say I haven't dug so deep to give you a full insight. I've dug enough to understand what they do, and I'm not really impressed yet. Maybe they will impress me at some point. They haven't yet. So there's that. And I think most of the things that they're touting about being unique are either not really unique or something that everyone will be doing when the market is mature enough for other players to do so. So that may give them a bit of advantage on some, first mover advantage on some things, but some of those things may never work out. Thus, first mover advantage is kind of, meaningless in many ways. Is it just me, or is the sound not great today? Well, I read that pretty late, but I don't see anybody else. Anyway, I don't see anybody else really complaining, so let me check my mic settings. Give me a second. Made a quick change on the mic. Maybe that'll make it better for you, Grace. Let me know. Mike was a bit far away from me too, so I moved it closer. Hey, Kevin, how could one profit off of Russia invading Ukraine? Asking for a friend. Well, when it comes to any type of invasion or war, obviously it's kind of about, it's always the same thing. It's always about looking to see what industries will get affected negatively, what industries may not get affected negatively. With something like this, it's kind of harder to pinpoint. I think it's more about trying to find opportunities of industries that get hit hard during the political invasion, and with the potential invasion or afterward or potential no invasion, you look to buy the dip essentially. So you're probably talking about, where is fear going to affect the market most? And to be honest, the fear has affected, most every market in a very general way. But localized in Ukraine, you can probably find industries that have taken a larger hit because of this fear that exists currently in the market. And that's probably where you're going to want to look for most of your opportunities. But obviously, crypto is abound with opportunities because of that same fear. Good morning, Kevin. Love Coinmetro and the AMAs. Thank you, Nick. Cadena released a new feature for their chain wallet, Weaver wallet, which protects from bad transfers of coins, can be never lost. Any plans to integrate? Yep, we did get the information about this right from Doug, I think 2 days ago. So we will take a look, probably will integrate it. Haven't done it yet, though. So Kev doesn't hold SHIB. I do not hold Shiba Inu. Hey, Kev, when is the rebranding coming, and is CM getting a new logo? Rebranding is coming within the next weeks. Potentially less than weeks, and new logo, potentially. But the community will be getting some tidbits of information about that coming up over the next days. So you guys will see firsthand and be able to give some feedback. Have you bought any Credo yet? If not, why not? I have. I had some limit orders that were filled on the recent drop. I actually still have some that haven't been filled yet. Is the reason for quant decrease in price due to tax harvesting, as percentage majority are whales for quant as more institutional investors than retail? Potentially, but I doubt it. I think the decrease has more to do with the rest of the market. So people, waiting, some strong quant supporters saying, oh, this is going to go to a bajillion, quadrillion dollars. I'm never going to sell. And then they lose 40%, 30%. They start to sell to hold into profits. And that creates capitulation. And that's pretty much what happened across the entire market, except for maybe XCM, though we did see one dip, at least one hard dip. So I don't think it has, I don't think it's due to one single thing. People selling to avoid taxes, or I should say optimize their taxes, might be a piece of it, but I absolutely do not think it's the whole thing. Any news from Project XCM? Well, Project XCM is kind of ongoing, definitely a little bit of a hybrid now, but there's been work in the background around this new branding that also has to do with XCM that will also push some new narratives and get some more exposure to XCM. So Project XCM has been merged into kind of this rebranding effort to a certain extent. You support Cadena. Will you start listing Cadena tokens such as KD launch? Cadena tokens will be listed at some point. Absolutely. Can't really specify as to which will be listed, but definitely we will be listing some Cadena tokens. Sorry, my daughter gets out of school and then I have to order a taxi. And unfortunately, she gets out right into the AMA. So you might see me checking my phone. It's not the Bogdan twins from the grave, just in case everybody's wondering. What do you make of Wonderland time scandal? Maybe I should know what that is, but I don't. So you'll have to clue me in. Hey, Kevin, thanks for agreeing to release Tokenomics today. We will all buy XCM once you do. Well, not going to be released yet today, but they are in the works, and it's going to be very interesting. And I'm telling you, I did the, mind blowing. That's been memed a few times. There's another one for you guys. You can meme that up. How is marketing going? Still testing. Still testing going on. Unfortunately, there's a bit of a perfect storm there as well, considering fraud over Christmas, having to put more restrictions on some onboardings, especially in the U.S. because of the fraud and other countries, and that has caused a slowdown in onboardings. So combine that with advertising, kind of hard to get a good metric on tests. So there is a bit of a delay there, but a delay we can't avoid because we need to make sure that we're protecting our clients' funds. But it is ongoing, so it's not like it's going to stop, just a bit delayed. Thoughts on PRQ and IQT? I like PRQ, always had. We're the first ones to list it. We listed it at, was it 2.5 cents? It was here when it was way under a cent. We supported it then. We still support it now. IQT, we plan to support IQ protocol and IQT once we can, once it's on a protocol that we support, and once Parsec is ready to work with us to get to support it. Hi, Kevin, what do you think about the project Unizen? Already answered that one. I'm going to get to my third bullet point since we're about halfway through the show today. And that's on one that we just got a question about, which is CM rebranding. So yeah, for the past couple of months, I think since August, actually, so more than a couple of months, we've been actually working on this rebranding in several different ways. We are growing and expanding and doing so rather rapidly. So we are looking forward to share this with our community very, very soon. And we are very excited to see what kind of feedback we get from that rebranding effort. So it's already been asked, but there's my last little bullet point. Glad I got it out of the way. What is your stance on meme coins? No real value, more like a game than an investment. I wouldn't chastise somebody for buying them as long as they do so knowing that it is a gamble and a game, and they're not actually supporting technology. They're not actually supporting anything. They're just getting involved in an internet game. And if you look at it that way and you want to put some money there, I think that's fine. But I think people that are trying to advertise these things as if they're the next greatest investment and it's going to make your life better are just going at it the wrong way. And that's probably going to push negative regulation. And so there's, talking about regulation just in general, I'll put that one back up on the screen in a second. Talking about regulation just in general, if we were all good operators, the regulation side of the business would be easy. But when there's bad operators and there's people losing money because they're duped, or they feel duped, or they feel as if, they're lured into something that in a way that's not actually the truth, legislators are going to pounce on those things and help create legislation that then gets passed on to the regulator that's simply going to stop us from being able to provide the same access and the same level of services we want to provide. It's going to make alternative finance traditional, and we don't want that to happen. So one of my main disagreements with meme coins and things that are absolutely not kind of sharing the same ethos as I think a lot of the good players in crypto are, is that they're not going to help on that front. They're not going to help get legislators and regulators to understand the benefits of crypto. They're only going to get them to see the bad side, because they're going to get tens of thousands. I guarantee you there's probably hundreds of thousands of reports, negative reports to regulators around the world about meme coins because people bought into them and got wrecked. So not really a good place to be, I think, in terms of industry. Hey, Kevin, you should keep the beard but shave your head. It takes the focus off your receding hairline. Appreciate that. I guess so, maybe. Yeah, I haven't. I mean, this is like 1 week post haircut, so it was definitely shorter last week. I don't know if it was shorter on the AMA. Maybe it was. I don't remember. And yeah, the beard. Well, my wife doesn't like the beard, so the longer the beard grows, kind of my wife starts sharpening her knives and end up sleeping on the couch more. But the couch is pretty comfortable, though. I gave this tip once before, but I'll give it again. Somebody didn't hear it. The secret to a long-lasting marriage is a comfortable couch. And if you don't get that, it's not even a joke. If you don't get that kind of statement, you haven't been married long enough. So you'll figure it out. Anyway, yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that under advisement. So I appreciate that. Hey, Kevin, any estimate on when new tokenomics will be announced? Soon. I like saying soon. Haven't said it in a long time. So soon. Any updates on the Q4 roadmap? Is it still being worked on? Well, obviously we're out of Q4, so no reason to finish a Q4 roadmap. I assume you're talking about Q1. And I think what's probably going to happen is the next big release of a roadmap publicly is going to be Q2, and hopefully we're going to have a system in place and product at that point that's going to allow us to be always 1 quarter ahead. So maybe releasing Q3 and Q2 rather than releasing Q2 at the end of Q2, for example. And native Luna is very, very close. ADA can't really comment on that at this current juncture. Parsec staking will happen once we can integrate IQ protocol. So when XCM chat on Whale Room. Also in discussions, not there yet, but in discussions, we're going to see how we put that together. Obviously, we want to work more closely with Whale Room. We listed it for that reason. What are the daily sign-up figures like recently? Is there any plan to educate? Well, let's do this next week because I don't have the figures in my head right now. I'm working on a lot of stuff that has nothing to do with new clients. So I don't even have them off the top of my head. I haven't even looked myself because I've been dealing with other things. So next week, ask me this question and we'll do it live. Tonic is literally a money printer. Well, good for Tonic. Not sure that was a question. What's your guys' stance after the amount of debt and inflation due to COVID about a possible definite recession? Obviously, the stock market would take a plummet, which also has a knock-on effect. I'm assuming you're going to say crypto. I don't see your next comment here. Okay. Anyway, so we'll leave it on this one. So debt. Well, we can have a long conversation about debt. I'll leave it at just that I don't care so much about debt when it comes to, the US, for example, or general country debt. If you have your own currency, it is the reserve currency of the world, and you earn enough money in tax that only 6% is needed to cover the entirety of the interest payment on the debt. Debt's not really an issue. It'll be a political issue forever because people don't understand how debt works, and so we're in debt sounds really bad because for individuals, for persons, being in debt is really bad. But whatever. Debt is one thing. Inflation, however, is not going anywhere will not go anywhere for quite some time. we've had 3 years of COVID. We've had 3 years of issues that will lead to inflation. We've seen just the tip of the iceberg of inflation in many ways. I don't think, 3 months from now, everything's going to be back to where it was in terms of pricing. I think we're going to see extended inflation in some areas that are going to affect business more than consumers, but may drive a recession based on that alone, because at some point businesses won't be able to push all costs back on consumers, which may mean they're going to have to cut jobs, which may means they're going to have to cut distribution of products. All that stuff is a big vicious circle that leads to problems and an eventual recession. Recessions are somewhat cyclical. Obviously, COVID is a big catalyst, so we might push that cycle faster. We are pretty much due for a recession. So, and the COVID catalyst is not going to help. Yes, that probably will mean the stock market takes a tumble unless we just keep on printing fucking money and pumping it into the stock market, which is obviously what we did through the first part of COVID. But when you stop doing that, it doesn't fix the problem. It just pushes the can down the road. Government's really good at kicking the can. They may just continually kick the can. I really don't know. I can't answer that question. But yes, if the stock market does end up taking a dive, it potentially, initially, I think, would drive fear, and institutional money may pull and evade risk, meaning pulling money from crypto as well. But in the long run, I think the stock market getting destroyed would probably not be bad for crypto. But in the short term, it absolutely would be. But will that actually happen is still a question in my book. I can't answer the question, but I don't think it's a hard yes or a hard no. So for me right now, it's kind of a maybe rather than a yes or no. Credo staking. Well, they do have their own staking, but it's on their own layer too. So we'd have to integrate with Credo, which we do plan to do in the future, but that's probably not till Q3, Q4, maybe Q1 next year. So in the interim, once we have another protocol that's written, that we write to, something like IQ protocol, Vesper, etc., that allows us to make either liquidity pools or lending pools, we can then offer staking on multiple assets, and that would obviously more likely include Credo. Fed crashing both markets. What's your take? I assume you're talking about FOMC. So just the rate announcement, and then the description, them telling us why they did what they did. Normal. I don't know what else to tell you about that. There's nothing odd about that whatsoever. I think they literally went with expectations. They didn't do a damn thing, and that's it. So kind of buy the news, sell the fact type of thing. Hi, Kevin. Thoughts on Unizen? Yeah, I've already talked about it now already. This is, I think, the third time it's been asked. I know Gilbert's an advisor. I'm not sure what that really means. So I don't really look at advisor lists when I look at businesses. I could care less who you're getting advice from, because I don't know if they're actually giving you advice or you're taking it. I just know it's a face on your website to make you look better. So until I really dig into a company, advisors are meaningless, absolutely meaningless. I don't even pay attention. And so, yeah, the fact that Gilbert's there doesn't really mean anything to me. Is the current geopolitical situation in Eastern Europe affecting business in Estonia? Not yet, aside from just exorbitant utility bills. But I would say not much more than that. There probably are a bunch of people buying candles and generators, though, because they think, doomsday's around the corner. And then they could be right, I guess. But I don't think, other than that, I haven't really seen a major effect yet. Which Coinmetro token is most undervalued? XCM, obviously. If you're talking about tokens that we list, that's a hard one to state, to be honest. There's a lot of undervalued assets, I think, sitting on the Coinmetro platform. Parsec is definitely one of them. Credo is one of them. Cadena is one of them. Flux is one of them. I think in terms of the crypto market and what the project has to offer, it might be a toss-up between Credo and Cadena. Cadena being a proof of work scalable protocol that has seemingly unlimited throughput. So it's scalable, but it's also proof of work, which means more secure. And then you have Credo that's offering services that no other custody provider has, and it's tokenized. So I think maybe somewhere between those two might be, at least off the top of my head. Parsec, I think, is also extremely undervalued. However, they are continually building out an ecosystem It's not a protocol. Protocols can be incomplete and buggy, but still have massive value because they've already proven a concept and they're already kind of operational, even if there are some bugs here or there. Then you have things like, Credo, which is an ecosystem product, an infrastructure product, but that they're doing something no one else is doing. Parsec has competition, not the only game in town. They're an ecosystem. As the ecosystem grows, it becomes more and more overvalued. So I think in a year or two from now, Parsec might be the most undervalued. I said overvalued, I meant undervalued. But I don't know. If I had to pick three, I'd pick probably PRQ, Credo, and Cadena. If I had to pick one, I might be pushing more towards Cadena if I had to pick one, but we'd have a 1, 2, and 3 situation there, and they're all pretty close. Can you list HBAR? We can. We have talked about it. We haven't done it yet, obviously. Right now, our main focus is on tokens that we already have already written to the underlying protocol. That can include ETH tokens. It could be Cadena tokens. Could be Hathor tokens, for that matter. SFB from FTX, CZ do lots of marketing campaigns about how they earn to give. Are you going to do some marketing about how Coinmetro is honest against other famous? Famous, I like that one. So giving doesn't make you honest. Let me throw that out there real quick. Giving absolutely does not make you honest. I could go and say another side to that, but I won't. But giving doesn't make you honest. See, if you notice, there's actually news recently about how Binance stopped its fund. It's giving. It's this thing that had to give. That's giving away on the Binance chain. They used to make a lot of publicity about it when they were actively looked at by some regulators. So sometimes people give for the wrong reasons, and that's also not very honest. I think SFB is probably a better guy all around than CZ in many ways, but he is 29 years old. He's a super smart guy, graduated at MIT. He's a brainiac when it comes to systems. He's also a big risk taker, but there's many things he doesn't do correctly either. And I think he's going to get a lesson in what he's not doing correct over the years. I am not against giving, and we will absolutely be on the forefront of giving money when we're profitable. If we give money away now, we're giving away shareholder money for the most part. And shareholders don't give us money to give it away. They give us money to create a company, to create an environment where we can eventually give away money. But they don't give us their money to give it away directly. So we absolutely will have charities that we will work with very closely. We actually have some already, but in order to be able to really give, we need to earn first, just like that saying says. But again, just remember, just because someone is giving to charity absolutely does not make them honest or a nice person either, to be honest. Many times giving is a way to optimize taxes or to show to people that you are a good person while you do bad things. Do you believe XCM will increase dramatically when you go for funding? I believe XCM is going to increase with or without that funding, but funding round will lead to more investment, which will lead to more services, which will lead to more clients, which absolutely will lead to XCM going higher as a result. What's your opinion of ICP? Don't have one. Are you considering listing Cadena projects? Yes, we will at some point list Cadena tokens, absolutely. Are any further AMAs planned with the Cadena team? I think we will do one. We actually have a project we'll be working on them with them in the very near future, and we probably will do an AMA around it. In fact, I was just writing them a short summary about what I thought and when I thought we could do that. So vor.red, no idea what that is, so don't go there because maybe it's something you don't want to see. Are you Christian? Do you believe in God? I am not Christian, and I am not religious. So my thing about religion is I don't know, and I'm pretty sure no one else does either. So I don't want to make, I don't have an opinion of whether there is a God, but I don't worship one because there's too many to choose from, and I wouldn't really want to be wrong. Can you explain how XCM runs Coinmetro's ecosystem? Sure, I can explain a little bit. XCM, our tokenomics are intricately tied to actions that happen inside the ecosystem. So now, even from the community aspect, our new Discord channel, you have to own XCM. or be a verified client at first, in order to gain access to Discord. And to gain access to certain channels, you will need to have XCM. So even for access, getting in, it's about getting people in. XCM is tied to that in some way, shape, or form. When you trade on the exchange, your commissions that you pay are partially used to buy XCM, and some of that XCM is vaulted. XCM is over time getting intricately tied to each and every product and service, or almost every product and service that we offer. So by using the services, by using the platforms, by using the exchange, you are pulling XCM from the sell side of the order book, and we are then either taking that XCM in treasury, or we're vaulting it, or we're moving it around the ecosystem. So it definitely is the fuel that keeps the ecosystem moving, and not just in a kind of fluffy way, but in an actual, real fashion. Big fan of Coinmetro. Thanks. I appreciate that. I recently got blocked from withdrawals as I put my salary and withdraw many small amounts daily and use it for daily expenses. Aren't we allowed to do that? It's not about being allowed or not being allowed to do something like that. It's just that with the increased amount of fraud that we've probably seen patterns that have related to fraud that are similar to what you're doing. So as long as you explain, my salary went here, here's evidence of my salary, here's my pay stub, here's my whatever, here's the evidence of my salary come from the company I work for, and I'm just taking out small amounts of money daily because this is how I pay my daily expenses, then I'm sure you're going to be fine. So I understand it's frustrating sometimes when you get locked in these compliance loops. I've gotten locked in compliance loops at every bank, every EMI, every PSP I've ever had money with, because I'm a US-born person with a Mexican passport living in wherever, Eastern Europe. And so every account I have, frequently I have to provide documentation. And I mean all kinds of documentation. So I'm kind of used to it. I know a lot of people in crypto, or a lot of people, it's their first account. Maybe it's the first time you've actually amassed a certain amount of money because you've been doing good with your trading or whatever. You're not used to these type of interactions. But this is what the law requires us to do. It requires us to make sure we do everything to ensure that our clients are safe, or that potential victims are safe. People that aren't even our client, but their ID gets used to open an account, or someone is stealing money from people and then trying to put it on a Coinmetro account. We need to protect everyone, and to do that, we need to create rules. The unfortunate side of that is that these rules initially aren't going to be the smartest rules ever, because we don't have all the information. Some of those rules may catch innocent people, but a simple explanation and a simple amount of proof is enough to get you out of that loop. So I would say, make sure you're in touch constantly with our support team. Make sure you give them evidence of what you're saying, and you shouldn't have a problem. Sound is fine. Okay, that's good. Opinions on GRT. The only opinion I have, I looked at them very briefly when they first came out, because obviously they're a competitor to PRQ, to Parsec. I didn't see anything there super exciting. They did have some partnerships, some stuff that were interesting, but I didn't see anything that really would pull my eyesight off of PRQ. They may have done things in the recent future that are even more interesting. I don't know. I haven't really looked. If you have something specific, please bring it up. We can chat about it. HNT is the token used in the Helium. Helium. I thought I recognized it. I did like Helium when I looked at it. I don't know what they've been up to recently, but I definitely can take another look. Does synthetic and leverage trading make an asset more or less volatile, or both? Both. So when I think synthetics provide liquidity, liquidity generally reduces volatility. However, when the underlying market is less serviced than the synthetic market, and the synthetic market is overly populated by people who don't know how to trade synthetics, i.e. retail, it can create more volatility. But in general, you need synthetics to provide a liquid market in any asset class. Most any asset class, aside from maybe the bond market, to be honest, could still be held by synthetics, but synthetic bonds aren't really a thing. So anyway, the synthetics are needed usually to provide liquidity. They're not a bad thing, but when majority retail is trading synthetics, they get wrecked. That provides volatility. How secure is CM, and would you suggest storing on a ledger? Pretty secure. I mean, no one's going to be 100% secure. No one can say that. There's always a chance. There's always a weak link. You just try to make you try to find the weakest link and make it as secure as you can, but you're always going to have a weakest link, quote unquote. So we've done a lot of things over the last 2 years to make sure that our internal systems are secure. We use secure partners, things like BitGo, Fireblocks, etc. We don't necessarily use Fireblocks yet, but we will be in the near future. And we have a lot of rules in place. We hold a lot less in our hot wallets percentage-wise, according to AUM, than I think any other exchange. I think not even close to 1%, to be honest, in most cases. So I would say we are secure. We do a lot of things. We don't use 2FA. We use probably 5FA on most accesses. We have limited accesses. We have time-based accesses. We have accesses that are controlled by not just a server-side password, but a 2FA generated application password plus MetaMask with 2FA plus a ledger connected to MetaMask with 3FA plus. So moving assets for us is, I would say, secure assets in my mind are secure, though we constantly look to see how we can make them more secure. Would I suggest storing on a ledger? Look, I think if you're confident enough in being able to operate that ledger and you know how it works, and you know about the phrase that you need to store, you're not going to lose it. You're confident that you know what you're doing, then putting funds on a ledger is not a bad idea. I have a ledger. I have more than one. I store funds on ledgers. I also store a lot. Most of my assets sit with Coinmetro, obviously, because I know a bit more about what we do than probably most people that are listening to this right now. So I have more confidence in what we do. But I do have ledgers, because, every once in a while I want to test out something. I want to see how something works. I don't really hold portfolios on ledgers, though I do have ETH on some ledgers, and I do have some other tokens on ledgers, just because I like to test out things like IQ protocol, for example, or whatever, things that we may want to integrate or may integrate in the future. Wonderland Time was an Olympus DAO. Yeah, okay. Clone on Avalanche, billions of dollars of investor funds turned up to be trusted to a repeat scammer involved in the Quadra scandal. He just changed his name. Okay, yeah. Well, it might be big news, but when I see stuff like this, I don't even read it anymore, because this shows you why lots of things about decentralization, which leads to people being anonymous, is not the best thing in the world. It also, again, is a trigger to the regulator to say, well, we need to do something. And the problem is, most DAOs, most things that try to be truly decentralized or lead to anonymous partners, anonymous people using them, don't want to talk to legislators and regulators. They're the guys that stay behind the scenes. And if they don't, there will be laws made around the world. They're going to try to outlaw these things. They're going to try to make sure people can't interact with them, at least with money. So when you have all your regulated infrastructure, your wallets and your exchanges, they're going to tell them, well, you can't transfer money to, DAOs, because we don't know who operates them. I don't want to get to that future. I think that future would be terrible. I think that future would just be the present in the future, which, why would we want to repeat the current present or the late past, which didn't work? But that will happen, because things like this happen. Unfortunately, you can't trust most human beings. That's a terrible thing to say, but you shouldn't. That's just the way the world works. And when you allow for structures that allow people that have scammed people in the past to continue doing it, well, it's the legislator's job to make sure that doesn't happen. When they don't understand the technology, and the technology isn't there to tell them how they can potentially do this, but still maintain the benefits of the technology, guess what happens? They make stupid laws that cause problems for an industry. And I would not like to see that happen. Hi, Kev, what's your opinion about investing in securities versus XCM? That's a very broad question. So when it comes to securities, you got to tell me what type of securities you're talking about. There's lots of them. XCM is not a security, it's a utility token. So on a broader question, difference between securities and utility tokens. Well, crypto is probably more volatile than most security markets. The potential for gain is probably higher with a volatile asset like a utility token. If you believe that the company that is issuing that token is doing what they say they're going to do, if you believe their business is going to succeed, that token will probably increase in value, and probably, at least while it's illiquid, much faster than most securities. But it depends. If you want to be intricately tied to, and if you want a dividend-ish giving asset, obviously XCM has staking, similar to dividends. But you also have companies that over time, obviously, will rise in value based on how well they do. If we're talking about specific type of security, which is equities. If you're talking about bonds, you could be talking about, so it's a pretty broad question to answer. What I would say is, in a balanced portfolio, there's room for both. And there's different reasons to invest or buy, or, well, I'd say invest in securities and own utility tokens. Quant staking, any future plans? Love to support it. Love to support more with quant, including gateways. Haven't had too many conversations recently with Gilbert. It's been a while, but we definitely would look to support them absolutely with both some form of staking as well as gateway. Hi, Kevin. Can you please tell us what makes listing KDA so difficult? Just wondering why Binance Coinbase hasn't listed them. Well, this will be my last question, actually. I think we're right up on the top of the hour. And let me check my... Give me a second. Just wondering what's up with my daughter. I'm going to have to run and see if she got home safe. Okay, sorry. Just trying to check and see. So I have something at 4:30. I do have a bit of time. I'm going to ask, this will be the last question, though. So Canada has 20 chains. So to do it right does take a bit more effort than it does on most chains who have one chain. Or some have parallel chains, but there's usually not 20. So it's not necessarily difficult, but it's more time consuming, I think, than most. And there is some nuances involved. I think the reason you haven't seen it on Binance and Coinbase yet is just the number of wallets. Number of wallets that currently exist in Cadena. When the wallet count gets higher, you will absolutely see it on both Coinbase and Binance, almost guaranteed. Considering that it is its own protocol, that can also be a bit of a delay, meaning they may want to see, maybe normally they look for this amount of wallets in an ecosystem that might be an Ether token, for example. They may look for more when it's its own protocol. I don't know exactly their listing metrics, but I think that's probably why you haven't seen it yet. But I'm confident you will. I'm gonna have to leave it there. Next time, hopefully we'll have a system to be able to go through questions and pull out kind of the more pertinent questions, or not most of these questions were really good, but there might have been a few in there that I had to say I answered already and wasted a bit of time. I don't know, but we'll try to moderate a bit. So very much appreciate everybody being here. It is Friday. Spend time with friends and family over the weekend. If you can't do it physically, do it virtually. If you're in the UK, you can even do it maskless. Amazing. When's the last time you didn't have to wear a mask when you went to see grandma, like 1865 or something? So have fun over this weekend. If you're in the UK without your mask on, just scream from the rooftops by XCM, because everybody can see it. They can lip read it from a distance and they can hear you when they're close by. So that's super amazing. You can scream out your referral code if you like. Not sure anybody will write it down, but there's an off chance they might. So that's awesome. By the way, film yourself while you're doing it and put it on Twitter. Tag me. I'd love to see it. You screaming by XCM just in the middle, like in the middle of the tube or something. It doesn't have to be in the UK. It could be anywhere. Subway, metro, in the back of a Bolt, an Uber. Just scream by XCM and film yourself doing it. Tag me on it. That'll be really cool. It'll be a nice present for me over the weekend. I might even do it if I see enough people do it. I'll walk across the street to Prisma and scream by XCM and film myself. That'd be I probably might get arrested, but it might be worth it. So have a great weekend, everybody. Thanks for coming here. Thanks for the great questions. See you on Telegram over the weekend at Kevin Murcko. You can tweet me on Twitter at Kevin Murcko. And I may even see you on Discord over the weekend. Definitely will see you there, though, on February 1st. That's the launch of the Discord server. Make sure you get in the waiting room. Cheers, everybody. Talk soon.